Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. How are you guys? I hope you are fine. Let's have another topic, and that's actually a description and classification of speech sounds. Okay, what do you mean by this? Is that we can classify speech sounds into different groups. Here we are concerned with the English sounds, English speech sounds. Okay, so we are going to classify them for better understanding. You must know that the first classification is regarding like two groups. One of them is vowels and another is consonants. Okay, so this is a distinction usually made when we talk about speech sounds. The basic distinction we make is basically between vowels and consonants, and the words vowel and consonant, they are quite familiar. They are not quite stranger to you, but here we must be a little bit objective, and we must know what they mean here in phonetics and phonology. Okay, why? Because we have to when we talk about linguistics. So linguistics is the scientific study of language, and speech is one of the aspects of language. So we have to here define what vowels are. So once we define something, we have to keep this point in mind, that we have to put some certain sounds into that very category according to the definition. Okay, so vowel consonant distinction is made in the way that they are produced. Okay, there are two ways to classify or to treat speech sounds. One of them is from the perspective of production, and another is distribution. And production is basically a phonetic feature, okay, in which we see how sounds are produced. Okay, so vowels are sounds which are produced without any obstruction in the vocal tract. Okay, and consonants are sounds which are produced with constriction in the mouth cavity, okay, or oral cavity, or any kind of narrowing. Okay, it's not just about the full or complete constriction or obstruction, okay, but rather the narrowing could also be considered as a criterion for a certain sound to be called consonant. Okay, so this is the first distinction, okay, that we make. And production is a phonetic feature. Another criterion that we can take is that of distribution, how sounds are distributed. Okay, why? Because vowels cannot occur in place of consonants, and consonants have got their own places. Okay, in their own environment they may occur. Okay, like if you remember my class on my lecture on the structure of syllable, okay, or syllabic structure. So we discussed there onset, coda, and nucleus. Okay, so that keep that in mind when I talk about distribution. Okay, and this would be a phonological feature. Why? Because it's about the system of a certain language. Okay, so the first one is about production, and production is from this perspective. We can say that vowels are sounds which are produced with no obstruction in the mouth cavity, and consonants are produced with some sort of obstruction or constriction in the oral cavity. Like for example, if you say E, so there is no obstruction to this sound. Okay, this is a vowel sound. Okay, and if you take the example of P and B or K, let's say, or any other consonant, you will find that actually this airstream is constructed somehow in the oral cavity or mouth cavity. Okay, fine. So this is the distinction, and that's from perspective of production. Now move on to the distribution. Okay, distribution is basically a phonological feature which actually states or refers to the phonological context in which a certain sound occurs, as onset, nucleus, or coda. Okay, as far as the syllabic structure is concerned. So distribution is different, phonological context and positions in which particular sounds may occur. Okay, fine. So these are the two features. Sometimes a sound may be called a vowel, okay, because of the way that they are produced. okay? But you know, the same sound may also be treated as a consonant when we talk about distribution, okay? So the final thing would be that of distribution, how they occur, how they occur in a certain phonological environment, okay? Like vowels may only occur as nucleus in the syllable, okay? Consonant may occur as onset or as coda, okay? That's the very phonological feature, okay, based on which we can classify speech sounds into vowels and consonants, okay? So what is production? The most common view is about vowels and consonants is that vowels are sounds that are produced without any obstruction to the flow of air as it passes from the larynx to the lips, okay, in oral cavity. And consonants are sounds that are produced with a closure or a narrowing in the vocal tract, okay? So this is a very common view that we usually hear and we say, and most of the time we believe also this to be true. But sometimes we face many problems there, okay, when we actually define some certain speech sounds, okay? Then we move on to another criterion, and that's called the distribution, okay, fine, or the occurrence of speech sounds. So two groups of sounds with quite different patterns, okay, of distribution can be identified, and these two groups are those of vowels and consonants, okay. If you look at the vowel-consonant distinction in this way, we must say that the most important difference between vowel and consonant is not the way they are made. It means that the production is not a very important feature as far as the distinction is concerned between vowels and consonants. Okay, but actually, there are different occurrences in various phonological environments. That's the important point. Keep this in mind. Okay, later on I'll give you also an assignment on this too. Okay, that some sounds are phonetically they are consonants. Okay, and some but phonologically they are vowels. Okay, and some sounds are phonetically vowels, but phonologically they are consonants. So the second one, I'll give you the assignment on the second one. Okay, so what we have is that it is also worth noticeable here that the distribution of vowels and consonants is different from each language. Like each language has got its own phonological system. Okay, phonetics, as you know, is actually only the description of speech sound. Okay, it's the food that we cook. Okay, so the food is basically phonetics, and the way we cook the food is basically phonology. Okay, that's a very good analogy. Usually we discuss as students of linguistics, and specifically phonetics and phonology. That actually phonetics is the descriptive tool which is used in phonological inquiry or investigation or study. Okay, so I'll not indulge into vowels because I've got a separate lecture on that, and you have got that too. Let's move on to the description of consonants here. So in this lecture we'll cover consonants and how they are classified. That's actually the basic thing here. Okay, so the whole lecture is about consonants. Okay, and I've excluded vowel sounds. Okay, consonants are distinguished from one another in terms of the degree of obstruction to the flow of air in the vocal tract. Different degrees of obstruction result because of difference in three things. First of all is voice, okay, voicing. The second one is place of articulation, and the third one is manner of articulation. Therefore, consonants like vowels could also be described and classified into different categories in terms of these features. And each of the 24 consonants in English that we have is given a very unique three-term description using the three features that we have discussed. So when we were discussing in the previous lecture, okay, vowels, so the vowels were described in terms of like the part of the tongue and height of the tongue, okay, if you remember, okay, and the lips position, whether they are spread round or closed lips rounding, or or open lips rounding, something like that. Okay, so that was also a three-term description. Okay, which part of the tongue is raised and how much it is raised. Okay, and the third one was basically the lips position. Okay, the lips spreading or rounding. Okay, So similarly, we can also describe consonants, okay, using three different features. The first one is voice. Voice is basically not very important when we talk about vowels. Why? Because all vowels are voiced, okay? But when we talk about consonants, so consonants may be voiced or unvoiced, okay? Depends on the context and the sounds that we are dealing with. So, this is actually, this is a very important feature here, okay? And the second one is place of articulation, okay? So what is place of articulation? We are discussing that too. But right now, I can say that place of articulation is basically about the articulators, okay? Which articulators are responsible in the production of certain speech sounds. And manner of articulation is basically the way they are produced, okay? The manner, we will discuss them too, okay? Let's move on. And we have 20 vowels and 24 consonants in English, okay? So in total, 44 sounds in English. Okay, and we have covered 20 vowels, okay, in the previous lecture. Now we are discussing 24 consonants. Okay, let's discuss first of all voicing, okay? Consonants may be voiced or unvoiced, but we need to first of all understand what we mean by them, okay, by these terms. So if the vocal folds vibrate when you produce a certain speech sound, okay, so we call such sounds as voice sounds, okay. And if the vocal folds do not vibrate during the production of speech sounds, okay, so we call those sounds as voiceless sounds or unvoiced sounds, okay. So this vibration feature is very important here, and this is what we call also voicing or phonation, okay. So consonants can also be classified into two groups, okay, voiced and unvoiced, in terms of the presence or absence of voicing. So if there is presence of voice, okay, we'll call them voice sounds, and if there is absence of voice, we'll call them voiceless or unvoiced sounds, okay, fine. Or another way is to look at, from the perspective of vibration, that if vocal folds, okay, vibrate during the production of a certain sounds, that sound is basically voice sounds. You could just put your finger, okay, or the tip of your finger on Adam's apple or in the ears, and you can feel that, or even you can place your hand on your chest and you could just feel whether a certain sound is voiced or unvoiced. You'll feel vibration there, okay, in your ears or on your chest, or or in your body even, okay. You'll feel that. So consonants, so all vowels are voiced in English, okay, as I've already said that, and maybe in other languages it might also be the same case. Consonants may be voiced or unvoiced. So in total, okay, we've got 9 voiceless sounds in English, and the rest of the 15 are voiced. Keep this in mind, okay. We'll study each of them. The voiceless sounds such as p, t, k are sometimes called fortis too. This is another term that phoneticians usually use to distinguish, voiced from unvoiced, okay. And this is also a very good feature as far as the sonority is concerned, okay. Fortis, as the name suggests, okay, it's like we've got also another term, fort. So fort is sort of strong kind of building, okay, structure. So it means strong, okay. So voiceless sounds are called fortis, strong sounds, okay, strong. Why? Because we need more, okay, pulmonic energy. We need more force to produce them. Keep this in mind, okay, relatively. But when we produced voice sounds such as b, d, o, g, so we use relatively, little or weaker energy, and that's why they're called linis, okay, not fortis. So this distinction should also be kept in mind, okay, when we talk about voiceless and voice sounds, okay. Voiceless are stronger when we produce them, okay. And during the production of voiceless sounds, we need more energy. We exert more force or energy, okay, when we utter or produce voiceless sounds, okay. And we use less energy, okay, pulmonic energy or force when we produce voice sounds. Keep this in mind, okay. Fortis consonants have got, the effect of shortening of preceding vowel. Okay, this is not a phonetic feature, but rather it is a phonological feature now. Okay, in English, okay, in the English phonological system, what we have is that actually, when when a certain voiceless sounds occur, okay, and they occur after the vowel. So the vowel before the voiceless consonants are uttered weaker, or they are shortened. Okay, keep this in mind. Okay, they are not lengthened. Okay, but rather shortened. You will see that. Like for example, look at this here. Okay. Okay. Look at this example here. First of all, okay. In this word, you will find what? You will find t sound, which is actually a voiceless sound. Okay, and you find that it is actually preceded by a vowel sound, a long vowel, e. Okay, so and here in this word, you also notice that actually we have got d sound. So this is a voice sound. Okay, so what we have is that actually in English, whenever a vowel comes before a voiceless sound, so it is shortened. Okay, fine. And whenever a vowel, long vowel or diphthong specifically, comes before a voice sound, so it is lengthened. Okay, look at just notice my pronunciation. I'll just utter them, and you will see that actually the vowel here, it is actually relatively shorter, and this one is relatively longer. Okay, how? Seed. You see here the difference, that actually when I pronounce seed, so it is relatively shorter, though both of the vowels, they are one and the same. Okay, generally speaking, but due to the following sound, okay, due to the voice of the following sounds, okay, the quality of the vowel or the length of the vowel is actually affected. Okay, in case of voiceless, it is here shorter. In the case of voiced, okay, it is here longer. And likewise, same is the case here with any other situation where there is no consonant, which means that a vowel is not followed by any sound, like here. Okay, in the word C. So in this case, okay, we have got onset, we have got nucleus, but we do not have any coda. Okay, so in this case, it is also pronounced longer. C. Okay, you see here, C. Okay, so seed. C. So you can notice that actually, it is only the voiceless sounds which actually make the preceding vowel shorter. Okay, this is a phonological feature, and it's very important from exam point of view, and generally speaking, if you incorporate this change into your speech, so you will find like your speech will be just like native speakers. Okay, so that's the feature. And why is it so? What could be the reason behind that? Basically, the voiceless sounds, they are fortis. Okay, they need more energy. So the energy which is consumed here in the production of vowel sound is basically shifted to the voiceless sounds. Okay, and in this case, in the case of voice sounds here, okay, so that's not a big deal. Why? Because when we pronounce voice sounds, so we exert little energy. Okay, so that's why we can pronounce vowels as well as voiced consonants. Okay, so this is the reason that actually vowels are longer, okay, when they precede certain voice sounds. Okay, I hope it's clear. Okay, now we are done with the voice. Okay, now we have to move on to the place of articulation. Okay, and this would be the second characteristic. Okay, when we describe consonantal sounds. Okay, fine. What do you mean by place of articulation? Is basically the location of the stricture. Stricture is basically the the obstruction, okay, or the constriction, okay, made in the vocal tract. In terms of the place of production, 8 different types of consonants have been identified in English, okay. So the first classification is basically bilabial, okay. As the name suggests, we have got 2 lips here. And labiodental, so it's combination of 1 lip and 1 teeth ridge, okay, like upper teeth ridge and lower lip, okay. Then the third one is basically dental, which is related to teeth. So they are dental sounds, okay. We can have bilabial sounds, labiodental sounds, dental sounds, sounds which are produced with the help of tongue and teeth ridge, okay. And bilabial sounds which are produced with the help of both of the lips. And labiodental sounds which are produced by the contact of lower lip and upper teeth, okay. And then we have alveolar ridge, okay. So and sounds are and such sounds are called alveolar sounds. And why do we call them? Why? Because the tongue makes contact with the alveolar ridge, okay. So such sounds are called alveolar sounds, okay. Then we have got the fifth classification or the distinction, and that's post-alveolar, or sometimes we call them plato-alveolar, okay. So post-alveolar sounds are produced with the help of the tongue, okay, with post-alveolar area, okay. And then we have got palatal area, which is a relatively rarer, okay, back somewhere in the middle of the mouth cavity. So such sounds are produced, okay. Pilated sound or sounds are sounds which are produced with the help of the center of the tongue and the roof of the mouth cavity or palate, okay, fine. And then we have got the second last or the penultimate classification, that's called velar sounds, which is basically the back of the tongue with the soft palate, okay. That's another classification here, okay. And then we have got glottal sounds, which is basically something quite different and unique in its own nature, okay. And it is produced in the inside inside glottis. So glottis is responsible to make like the sound, okay. Look at some of the look at this illustration, and you will find some of the terminologies that we use generally when we talk about place of articulation, okay, fine, as well as manner of articulation, because they are also important when we're discussing about the manner of articulation, okay. So these are different articulators and different organs that we use in speech production, okay, fine. I hope it's clear, okay. Keep this in mind that sometimes we may use 2 terms, like we have got soft palate, okay, or velum, okay. So and the sounds produced because with the help of back part of the tongue, and the velum would be called velar sounds, okay, fine. This is what we have, and this is also the area. This is what we call post-alveolar, okay, or plato-alveolar. And this is your palate. This is your palate. Okay, fine. Okay, fine. Let's move on to another diagram. These are the different terms, that are used to refer to sounds. Okay, as far as place of articulation is concerned, and we have glottal sound here. Okay, inside larynx. Okay, we have got glottis, the opening, the hole there. Okay. And we have got one sound that is produced in English, and that's okay. Though we may have 2 sounds in Pashto or Urdu, just like we have got and okay, just like Hathi and Khali. So the initial sounds are like and they are also glottal sounds here, okay, fine. So these are the classifications, okay, and they are actually the different articulators involved in the production of such sounds, okay. And these are the examples. Like for example, we have got 4 bilabial sounds in English, okay, p, b, m, w. And likewise, and you can see, you can notice here that actually these sounds are produced with the help of both of the lips, okay? So that's why they're called bilabial sounds. Then we have labiotensive sounds, okay? So it's a combination of lower lip and upper teeth, okay? And we have got a pair of sounds in English, f and v, okay? And this is also, a very problematic distinction for some of the Pashto speakers too here, okay, in Pakistan. So then we have dental sounds, okay? That's the combination of tongue and teeth, okay? So, and we have two sounds in English, okay? Th and th, okay? And one is voiced and another is voiced, okay? Whenever we have got a pair, just like this is a pair here, okay? P and b. So the first one is voiceless and the second one is voiced. Likewise here, f is voiceless and v is voiced. Similarly, we have got th, which is voiced, and th, which is th is voiceless and th is voiced, okay? So we have got also another pair in alveolar, okay? And this is the largest family as far as place of articulation is concerned, okay? So we have got sounds such as t, d, s, z, l, r. So this is, a kind of like a largest family in place of articulation. Why? Because we have got some almost 7 sounds here, okay, which are made with the help of, tongue and alveolar ridge, okay. And we have got 2 pairs here, okay. So the first sound in this pair is voiceless and the second one is voiced, okay. And likewise, similarly, s is voiceless and z is voiced. Okay, then we have got another classification, and that's post-alveolar or plato-alveolar, and the sounds that we have is basically sh, j, ch, j, and these are also 2 pairs, okay. The first pair is that of sh, which is voiced, and j, which is voiced. Sorry, sh is voiceless or unvoiced, and j, which is voiced. And likewise, we have got ch, which is voiceless, and j, which is voiced, okay. Now move on to another classification, platal sound, okay. We have got one sound here, okay, as far as the phonetic description is concerned. So we have got y sound here, okay, fine. And that's basically the back part of the tongue, okay, with palate or hard palate, okay, okay, back part of the tongue and palate, okay. And it's also a little bit difficult sound, but we have this sound in our mother tongue. That's why it doesn't seem to be very much difficult, for us. Okay, then we have got velar sounds, okay, fine, soft palate and back part of the tongue. So we have k, g, 3 sounds in English, okay. And the last classification is basically, and velar is, keep this in mind, soft palate or velum, and the back part of the tongue. And that's the combination for velar sounds, okay, for these 3 sounds. Okay, then we have got, glottal sound, okay. Okay, it's kind of like, quite a difficult sound too sometimes, okay. And for some of the speakers, it might be quite easier too, okay, if they have this sound, in the mother tongue, okay. So this is basically produced when the vocal folds are open, okay, fine. So we can produce such sound, and this is voiceless sound, okay. We also have got one pair here, okay, that's k and g. So the first one is voiceless or unvoiced, and the second one is voiced, okay. Okay, I hope it's clear, okay. This is the first part. I'm sending you the second part, okay, in which we'll discuss the manner of articulation, which is basically the main concern here of this lecture, okay. Thank you.